Have you ever wondered what happens when a king, at the peak of his power, makes a terrible mistake? Today, we're diving into one of the most dramatic stories in ancient history, the Siege of Rabbah. This isn't just a tale of military strategy and conquest. It's a story of power, betrayal, and the complex character of King David. So, what was Rabbah, and why was it so important? Rabbah, the capital of the Ammonites, wasn't just any city. It was a fortress, strategically located along major trade routes, making it a hub of wealth and influence. Its thick walls and abundant water supply meant it could withstand a long siege. For King David and the Kingdom of Israel, conquering Rabbah was more than just a military objective. It was a statement. It was about securing their eastern border, dominating a rival nation, and solidifying their place as the regional superpower. The conflict itself was sparked by a major diplomatic insult, and David was not one to let that slide. The Siege of Rabbah was a grueling campaign, lasting nearly 2 years. This wasn't a quick, decisive battle. It was a slow, grinding effort that tested the limits of Israel's military might and persistence. Leading this charge was Joab, David's nephew and the commander of his army. Joab was a brilliant, if sometimes ruthless, military strategist. He knew that a direct assault on Rabbah's fortifications would be costly, so he employed classic siege warfare tactics. He surrounded the city, cutting off its supply lines, and most crucially, he targeted its water source. By capturing the city of waters, Joab essentially put a timer on Rabbah's resistance. The capital was now cut off and vulnerable. But while Joab and his soldiers were fighting and dying on the front lines, where was King David? This is where the story takes a dark and personal turn. The Bible tells us that at the time when kings go off to war, David remained in Jerusalem. It was during this period of absence from the battlefield that he saw Bathsheba, the wife of one of his most loyal soldiers, Uriah the Hittite. This moment of weakness led to a series of disastrous decisions, including adultery and, ultimately, the orchestrated murder of Uriah on the battlefield at Rabbah. The Siege of Rabbah becomes the backdrop for one of David's greatest moral failures, a stain on his legacy that would bring tragedy to his own family. It shows a leader distracted from his duties, and the consequences were severe, both personally and for his kingdom. Back at the siege, Joab, ever the loyal commander, had the city on the brink of collapse. But he did something very interesting. Instead of taking the final glory for himself, he sent a message to David. He said, "I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. Now, therefore, gather the rest of the people together, encamp against the city, and take it, lest I take the city and it be called by my name." Joab understood the politics of the monarchy. The victory had to belong to the king. It was crucial for national morale and for solidifying David's authority. Joab's actions highlight the complex relationship between him and David, a mix of loyalty, strategic understanding, and perhaps a bit of political self-preservation. So, David gathered his forces and arrived for the final assault. With the city already weakened by Joab's strategy, the fall of Rabbah was now inevitable. The Israelites stormed the capital, and the victory was complete. This moment was a powerful symbol of Israel's military dominance under David's reign. It demonstrated their strength, their unity, and what many saw as divine favor. The conquest of Rabbah wasn't just about defeating the Ammonites. It was about fulfilling a destiny, expanding Israel's territory, and securing the promises God had made to their nation. It was a high point for Israel as a kingdom. The most iconic moment of this victory was when David took the crown of the Ammonite king. This wasn't just any crown. The scriptures describe it as being made of gold and precious stones, weighing a full talent, that's about 75 pounds. It was so heavy that it was likely a ceremonial crown, maybe suspended over the throne rather than worn daily. But when David placed it on his own head, the symbolism was unmistakable. This act represented the total transfer of power and authority. The wealth, the sovereignty, and the very identity of the Ammonite kingdom were now submitted to David. It was the ultimate symbol of conquest, a crowning glory for his reign, and a visible sign of God's blessing on his kingship. The spoils from Rabbah, including this incredible crown, flowed into Israel's treasury, further enhancing its wealth and power. But we can't forget the dark cloud hanging over this victory. While David was celebrating his triumph, the consequences of his sin with Bathsheba were just beginning to unfold. The prophet Nathan had already confronted him, delivering a message of judgment from God. The sword would never depart from David's house. So, the fall of Rabbah represents a profound duality. On one hand, it's a symbol of national success, military prowess, and the peak of David's kingdom. It showcases his strategic leadership. Even in his absence, his command structure worked perfectly, and it marked the fulfillment of divine promises. On the other hand, it marks the beginning of David's personal decline. This moment of great external victory was internally a moment of great moral failure. The story serves as a powerful lesson about leadership. It shows that success on the battlefield doesn't cancel out failures in character. Ambition and power, when unchecked, can lead to personal tragedy, even for someone described as a man after God's own heart. The capture of Rabbah is therefore a complex event. It's a story of military genius, national pride, and divine favor. But it's also a cautionary tale about the corrupting influence of power and the inescapable consequences of our choices. It shows us that even the greatest leaders are flawed human beings, and their victories and failures are often deeply intertwined. What do you think? Was the victory at Rabbah worth the personal cost to David? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a fascinating look at the complexities of leadership and morality. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories like this one. See you next time, and God bless.